So this theory has changed names multiple times, but I think PlushSiblings sounds cute, so we'll go with that. I've made posts about this, but it doesn't seem like this is something many people have noticed, so I'll talk about it, I guess. This is kind of a nothing burger of a theory, but I wanted to do something small and try some new editing stuff. Sorry for saying nothing burger, I keep using slightly old-fashioned American slang as a joke and it ends up sticking. Anyway, if you've played Help Wanted, especially in black light mode, you know that the plush babies are very, very annoying, and you probably have to look up a tutorial to learn how to conserve flashlight battery and memorize where they spawn. The plush babies seem to replace the bitty babs, being tiny circus baby lackeys that have recycled higher-pitched circus baby and scrap baby lines. You will find them very annoying, unless once you come to the same discovery I did, you might actually find them kind of endearing. 3 possible plush babies spawn in the minigame, with a small cooldown after you get rid of them. In blacklight mode, they look like variants of Scrap Baby instead of Circus Baby. The red plush baby looks the most like Circus Baby. It has blue eyes, but it seems like Circus Baby once did too. It also has ginger hair, which is arguably closer in color to Elizabeth than Circus Baby. Regardless, the red plush baby can be associated with Elizabeth by virtue of their resemblance to an animatronic associated with her. The same applies to its scrap counterpart for obvious reasons. The blue plush baby could easily pass for a recolor of the red plush baby unless you look a little bit closer. I will try to find an image by the time I'm editing this that isn't grainy, but it's very hard for you to see. The blue plush baby has a small scar alongside its torso. This becomes more obvious when you look at its scrap counterpart, which has a much more visibly patched up scar. Its eyes are also fairly sunken, like it's dead, or it's been scooped. So that plushie, if I'm not totally reaching, could represent Michael Afton, which would be a stretch if not for the yellow plush baby. It's the only one missing an eye. Notably, Golden Freddy is not only yellow, but is missing his eyes. Consider the scrap yellow plush baby. The smudges around its eyes aren't like the blue ones. Instead of surrounding the eyes, these look more like tear tracks, like a certain crying child. The plush babies do appear in a ruin Easter egg and appear to be mostly consistent, but they are very scuffed up, so they look a bit different, and it's hard to tell if these parallels still apply as well. However, the Pizzaplex was made after Help Wanted, which means that the plush babies were likely created during the game and remade in real life to sell merch. We know some version of the Mimic program was involved in the making of Help Wanted. Tape Girl explains that they use scans of old circuits to use their pathfinding.
I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't need to program any pathfinding ourselves. It was a budget thing, I guess. It was just junk. Circuit boards and things like that. Looked pretty old. Somehow, though, there was usable code on some of it. It seemed to take hold by itself. Things started changing.
The plush babies are mobile creatures, so even if they aren't animatronics, they could have easily been infected with the Mimic program because they also would need pathfinding. Even if they weren't, we know the Mimic has some control over the appearance of the game, beyond appearing in the hallway and moving closer to you. Even if we disregard the appearance of the FNAF 4 room as simply being a recreation of one of the in-universe FNAF games, there are some things present that only a Mimic program would know. The lobby, primarily, being a polished copy of the unfinished Freddy's model in Murray's Costume Manor. This project was old and never completed, and the map doesn't match the one in FNAF 1. If Glitch Trap is a copy of the original M1 program, or some variation of it, it would have knowledge of this room. M1 was, after all, stored away in this room. Glitch Trap is also absolutely copying William Afton. It chooses to copy a Spring Bonnie avatar over the others, and once it leaves the game, presumably through Vanessa, it becomes close enough to William that, prior to the Mimic's introduction, most people just straight up assumed it was William. It quotes him directly. It's been using Vanessa and Gregory to facilitate child and adult murders, but it leaves Gregory unharmed for some reason. Regardless of whether you believe the Mimic wants Vanessa to be a new Michael, a new Elizabeth, or something else, it's still trying to get her to mimic Afton's kids. This is especially obvious in her therapy tapes, where the therapist mentions an abusive dad, Bill, from her files, that Vanessa never directly confirms.
I feel like I know your dad, too. Bill, right? Your dad's name was Bill? I'm sorry, what did you say?
I try to do what I'm supposed to do.
We also know Glitch Trap has the ability to edit employee files.
Wanna guess what I found out when I looked into the tragedy of your past? All that stuff about your parents? You aren't even gonna look at me? Fine. You can look at the floor all you want. But it won't change the fact that none of what you said in your file about your parents was true.
Bill is, of course, a nickname for William, and Vanessa has been being given a backstory that doesn't belong with her so she can fit this new role. On account of this, we can assume that beyond the Mimic likely witnessing William's murder spree, it has been introduced to his kids with or without their knowledge. The only question is, if we assume the plush babies are mimicking the Afton children, what is the point? And admittedly, I'm not sure, but I can offer some possibilities beyond an homage or just something I made up for no reason. I can say this isn't just for content. I literally came up with this after watching a tutorial on the minigame with my sister, and I rushed to explain this to her. The minigame is really hard to beat. Anyway, the meaning could be vaguely metaphorical. Consider this poster you can get in FNAF 6 as a rare screen. It seems to be hinting at the Afton family dynamics, Michael as an accomplice being a literal puppet, the crying child is a bear, potentially possessing Golden Freddy, things like that. A metaphorical approach to the plush babies is fairly simple. William Afton was callous with his children and treated them like old toys, their tiny angry nuisances, used and discarded on a whim. Something along those lines. Alternatively, it is worth noting that the plush babies can appear in the FNAF 4 bedroom. In one of the Nightmare mini-games, you have to hide from Circus Baby in the closet, but if you keep the closet door closed for too long, the plush babies will attack you. We know that William has used plush toys to spy on and possibly speak to his children. Whether you see this thing as a security camera or something with a walkie-talkie or the fucking Mimic, oh yeah, there's probably a technological component added. I suppose the plush babies could further imply that, or just that the other two children had similar plushies. I'd be lying if I said I had a full idea what this means or what exactly I discovered, but I wanted to put this mini theory out in the air. Mostly to see if anyone else has noticed this, and if they have an idea of what this could mean. I am genuinely lost with this one. Because, hey, maybe it leads to a big breakthrough, or maybe
it doesn't mean anything at all. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all.